When a man deeply loves you, you won't have to go searching for clues or decoding mixed signals. You won't be stuck second, guessing his intentions or wondering where you stand, because real love, deep love, doesn't hide. It doesn't play games. It doesn't speak one thing and act another. When a man loves you at that level, his actions become the loudest, clearest form of communication he has. You'll know it not just because he says I love you, but because he shows up in the moments that matter. It's how he remembers the little things you said in passing, things you didn't even think he heard. It's how he adjusts when he sees something bothers you, not because you demanded it, but because your peace matters to him. He'll make space in his life for you, not in a forced or performative way, but because his life feels incomplete without you in it. Deep love is not dramatic. It's not the chaos we sometimes confuse with passion. It's consistent, and consistency is a form of respect. When a man shows up for you, on good days and hard ones, when it's exciting and when it's inconvenient, he's telling you, I've chosen you. Not just when it's fun, not just when it's easy, but even when life is messy and unpredictable. That's love. See, anyone can give you attention for a season. Anyone can love, bomb you with sweet words or grand gestures when they want something. But that's not the kind of love that lasts. A man who loves deeply doesn't just care about how you look when you're dressed up for date night. He cares about how you're feeling after a long day. He sees you when you're tired, unfiltered, and maybe not at your best, and he still chooses you. That's how you know it's real. And here's the truth most people won't say out loud. Some men say all the right things, but their actions tell a completely different story. If he's always talking about what he'll do someday, but can't follow through on simple commitments now, that's not deep love. That's delay. That's convenience. But when a man deeply loves you, he doesn't wait for the perfect time to show up. He makes the time. He doesn't keep you in limbo while he figures things out. He moves with clarity. He takes the guesswork out of your connection. A man who's invested in you doesn't need to be begged for attention or reminded of your worth. He sees it, and because he sees it, he protects it. He doesn't let weeks go by without checking in. He doesn't disappear when things get hard. He's present, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And when you feel safe in his presence, when you feel like you can finally exhale, that's not just comfort. That's evidence. That's a man putting his love into action, day in and day out. So if you're sitting there wondering, does he love me? Don't just listen to his words, watch his patterns. Does he lift you up or leave you guessing? Does he make your life feel more stable or more chaotic? Because love that runs deep doesn't confuse. It clarifies, it grounds you, and you deserve that kind of love, not just in theory, but in practice. One of the clearest signs that a man deeply loves you is that you feel emotionally safe around him, not just heard, but safe, safe to be yourself, safe to be messy, safe to speak your truth without fearing it'll be used against you later. Because love at that level doesn't punish vulnerability, it protects it, it honors it, and when you experience that kind of emotional safety, it changes everything. You don't feel like you're walking on eggshells. You don't have to rehearse your words or filter your feelings just to keep the peace. Instead, you feel like you can bring your full self to the table. Your opinions, your fears, your dreams. And he doesn't flinch. He doesn't shut you down. He leans in. And when a man leans in during your most unguarded moments, that's love. Not the shallow kind that's only present when you're smiling or agreeable, but the kind that stays grounded when you're raw, real, and a little rough around the edges. A man who loves deeply doesn't use your insecurities as ammunition. He doesn't throw your past in your face or weaponize your vulnerability to win an argument. Instead, he creates a space where you feel like you can breathe, where you can tell the truth and not be judged for it. And that kind of safety, that's rare, that's earned, that's sacred. This is where it gets real. Love without emotional safety is just performance. You might have attraction, chemistry, even connection. But if you can't trust the space between you, if you're constantly second, guessing what's safe to say, that's not love, that's survival. A deeply loving man won't leave you in survival mode. He gives you peace, he lets your nervous system settle. You don't feel hyper-vigilant around him. You feel calm, grounded, free. You see, emotional safety doesn't mean he agrees with everything you say or that there are never disagreements. That's not love, that's avoidance. A man who loves you deeply will challenge you sometimes. He'll push you to grow, to face things you may not want to face, but he'll do it with care, not with control. Not with ego, not with a need to win. He'll hold your truth as gently as he holds your hand. And let's not confuse silence with safety either. Just because a man doesn't raise his voice doesn't mean he's creating a safe space. Real emotional safety is about how you feel in his presence. Can you express yourself without fear of backlash? Can you admit when you're struggling without worrying that he'll pull away? Can you say, "I need," without being labeled too much? That's the measure, because when a man truly sees you, he doesn't make your feelings feel like a burden. He honors them as part of who you are. That's when you know he's not just in love with your highlight reel. He's in love with you, the you that's still healing, the you that's figuring things out, the you that sometimes doubts her worth but still chooses to show up. And he doesn't love you despite those things. He loves you through them. He meets you where you are and still sees where you're going. If a man makes you feel like you can finally stop hiding, stop pretending, stop performing, that's love. Not the loud kind that shows off on social media, but the quiet, consistent kind that whispers, "I've got you. You're safe here." And in a world that's constantly trying to harden you, that kind of love is not just powerful, it's transformational. When a man deeply loves you, he doesn't just respect you in the big, obvious ways. He respects the boundaries you set. The quiet ones, the firm ones, the ones that protect your peace. And here's the truth. Real love doesn't bulldoze those boundaries. It doesn't make you feel guilty for having them. It honors them, even when it's inconvenient. It's easy to say, "I love you," but what happens when you say, "I need space right now"? What happens when you say no? What happens when you draw a line and ask him not to cross it? That's where love gets tested. That's when you find out if it's deep love or just deep control. Because a man who loves you deeply won't punish you for protecting your peace. He won't twist your boundaries into accusations. He won't act like you're rejecting him just because you're choosing you. And it's not about perfection. It's not that he always gets it right, but when he missteps, he listens, he adjusts, he doesn't fight your boundaries, he learns from them, he understands that boundaries aren't about shutting him out. They're about keeping the relationship healthy, balanced, strong, because you're not asking for distance, you're asking for respect, and a man who truly loves you, he doesn't just want to be close to you. He wants to protect what matters to you. Your energy, your time, your emotional well-being. When you say, "This is too much," he doesn't push harder. He steps back and listens. When you say, "I need time to think," he doesn't flood you with messages to break your silence. He waits, he trusts you, and that trust, that calm, non-reactive energy, that's a man rooted in love, not ego. Now listen. Some people think that love means always being available, always saying yes, always accommodating. That's not love. That's codependence dressed up as loyalty. But deep love gives you space to breathe. It doesn't need to hover. It doesn't make you feel like you have to earn your right to rest, to recharge, to be alone. It understands that two whole people in a relationship need boundaries to stay whole. Without them, love becomes suffocation. A man who loves deeply doesn't try to control your decisions. He doesn't manipulate your emotions to keep you close. He doesn't try to dim your light to make himself more comfortable. Instead, He respects your autonomy. He knows that strong boundaries don't push love away. They make it stronger. Because when someone respects your limits, you begin to feel safe. You begin to feel seen. And when you feel safe and seen, you open up even more. That's the irony. When a man doesn't pressure you, when he doesn't guilt you, when he doesn't demand access to parts of you you're not ready to share, that's when you let him in deeper. That's when love expands, and that kind of love, that kind of steady, grounded, respectful love, that's the foundation that lasts. So if you find yourself with a man who listens when you say no, who respects the space you need, who doesn't make your boundaries feel like rejection, but instead sees them as protection of what you both have, hold on to that. Because that's not weakness, that's not distance, that's a man choosing to love you in a way that lets you be free. When a man deeply loves you, he doesn't settle into comfort and stay stagnant. He grows. Not just for himself, but with you, for you, because deep love doesn't sit still, it evolves, and a man who truly loves you isn't just thinking about how to keep you today, he's thinking about how to build with you tomorrow. He's not in it for the short game, he's in it for the long haul, and he's willing to do the work. That means he's not afraid to look at himself. He's not afraid to ask hard questions, to confront his own flaws, to own up when he messes up. That takes humility, that takes maturity, but most of all, it takes love, because a man who doesn't care deeply won't go that far. He'll choose comfort, he'll choose pride, he'll choose what's easy, but a man who loves you at the core, he chooses growth, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it requires him to unlearn things he's carried for years. And the beautiful thing is, you'll feel it, not just in the big moments, but in the subtle shifts. He listens differently. He responds instead of reacts. He stops repeating patterns that hurt the relationship, not because you nagged him, but because he wants to be better. He doesn't just tell you he's working on himself. He shows you in how he shows up. And that effort, that daily, quiet, behind the scenes effort, that's one of the most powerful forms of love there is, because when a man is willing to grow, what he's really saying is, this matters to me, you matter to me. He's not just invested in being your partner, he's invested in becoming a better man because he's with you. He sees the relationship not as a place to hide or coast, but as a mirror that reflects who he is and who he can become. And that kind of love invites you to grow too. It doesn't try to hold you back. It doesn't get threatened by your ambition, your healing, your evolution. It cheers for it. It stands beside you and says, let's do this together. That's partnership. That's alignment. That's two people moving in the same direction. Not perfectly, not without setbacks, but with intention. Deep love doesn't fear change. It embraces it, because the truth is, life will change. You'll change, he'll change, circumstances will shift, and if someone's love is rooted in who you were, not who you're becoming, that love won't last. But when someone's committed to growing with you, to learning you again and again, to showing up for the next version of you, that's when love becomes something unstoppable. And it's not about dramatic declarations or overnight transformation. It's about the man who says, I'm listening. The man who apologizes and then does better. The man who reads the book, goes to therapy, has the hard conversation. Not because you forced him to, but because he loves you enough to do what love requires. That kind of love is steady, it's quiet, but it's powerful. And when you find that, when you see a man not just choosing you, but choosing to rise for you, don't doubt it. That's not luck. That's deep, grounded, intentional love.